There's been a lot of chatter lately about what's next for Ethereum. Vitalik Buterin, Ethereum's co-founder, and the Ethereum Foundation have been discussing scaling layer 2s, blobs, quantum security, and a range of other Ethereum updates. That's a lot to take in. So in this video, we're going to strip it back and focus on what actually matters, what's changing, why it matters, and what's next for Ethereum. First, let's go back to basics. Ethereum is a blockchain network that powers decentralized apps, and ETH is the asset that powers it. So when people talk about an Ethereum upgrade, they're really talking about an upgrade to how the network itself works. That matters because there's already a huge amount happening on Ethereum, from stablecoins, tokenized assets, DeFi, and more institutions building directly on the network. All of that activity means more demand. And when more demand is competing for space, things can slow down, costs can rise, and performance can struggle to keep up. That's the problem these updates are trying to solve, and it's been work in progress for years. Ethereum has been upgrading steadily over time. Dencun in 2024, Pectra and Fusaka in 2025, and now in 2026, the attention is turning into what comes next. At the time of recording, Glamsterdam is the next major Ethereum upgrade, and it's designed to help the network scale more smoothly without becoming slower, more expensive, or harder to use. It does that through two big changes. The first is about how transactions get added to the network, or as the official roadmap describes it, enshrined proposed builder separation. Okay, what does that mean in plain English? Well, every time you make a transaction on Ethereum, it gets grouped together with other transactions and added to the chain. Right now, a lot of that process relies on third-party software. It works, but it also makes Ethereum dependent on external infrastructure. Glamsterdam brings more of that process directly into Ethereum, so it's handled by the network's own rules. That makes it more reliable, more transparent, and less dependent on a few outside players. The second change is about how the network handles volume, or block-level access lists. Right now, Ethereum doesn't know in advance exactly what's going to change, things like account balances or smart contract storage. That's part of why things can slow down and get more expensive when the network gets busy. Glamsterdam changes that by mapping out ahead of time what each block is going to interact with. That means it can process more in parallel instead of working through everything one step at a time. The result is faster performance, more predictable costs, and a network that's better able to handle heavy traffic. But Glamsterdam is only one part of a much bigger roadmap. The Ethereum Foundation frames the next phase of development around three priorities: scaling, improving user experience, and hardening the L1. Scaling just means helping Ethereum handle more activity. That's why the Glamsterdam changes are working towards. Improving the user experience means making things like wallets, apps, and transactions feel simpler. And hardening the L1 means keeping the core network secure and reliable as more gets to build on top of it. L1 refers to the base layer and the main Ethereum chain, where transactions are finalized. And that base layer matters more than ever because Ethereum's long-term scaling goals depend heavily on layer 2s. These are separate networks built on top of Ethereum, like Arbitrum, Optimism, and Base, where transactions can happen faster and at a lower cost. So while layer 2s handle more of the activity, Ethereum still secures the system underneath. So as even more usage moves to layer 2s, the foundation that they're sitting on has to be rock solid. This is where blobs come in. They give layer 2s a cheaper way to send data to Ethereum so the network can verify what happened. Before that, these same data had to be stored permanently, which made it really expensive. Blob data only needs to stick around long enough for Ethereum to check it. That's a really big part of why layer 2 transactions have become much more affordable over time. Now, all of these improvements help lay the groundwork for the next named upgrade, Hegotá, expected later in 2026. The full feature still hasn't been locked in, but the direction is already clear. More scale, better usability, and stronger core stability. And that leads to one of the most important parts of the roadmap: future-proofing. Ethereum has to prepare for risks that may be years away, but could soon become serious over time. Quantum computing is one example. The idea that some sort of cryptography Ethereum relies on today could eventually become vulnerable to extremely powerful computers. It's probably still a long way off, but Ethereum is built to last, and it makes sense to prepare for it now rather than later. And that's exactly what's happening. Thomas Stanczak of the Ethereum Foundation has said there's already a clear quantum strategy in place, with researchers finalizing specifications and engineers working on implementations. That says a lot about where Ethereum is right now. It's not just betting on one upgrade to solve everything. It's evolving step by step, responding to new demands, new technical challenges, and new risks as they emerge. If the last few years were about laying the foundation, the next few might be about proving what Ethereum can actually become. Not just bigger, but faster, easier to use, and more resilient. Well, that's all for the video. Let us know how you found it in the comments below.